Hello and welcome to another episode of The Modern Nerd. I am Sir Slice 13,
I'm Merchandise.
I'm GJC.
and we are, as always, massive nerds. So we got a couple things to review and talk about. I would normally open it with like a how you doing, what you playing, what you watching, but if you're watching Georgia's stream, you know exactly what we're all playing. So yeah, I'll say I picked up the Saints Row 3 remaster.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Yeah, it's fun.
The
I
new one's
mean,
coming
you
out
know,
soon, right?
the story is very dated and whew,
Which one
man,
is
it's
that? Is that the
kind of
one with
hard
the
to
alien
hear
invasion?
some of it.
Smirch, you
No,
gave me
that's
one
4.
of them. I forgot which one. It's the one where there's like an invasion of aliens
That's 4.
and a virtual reality thing. Which one is
Dude,
that?
Forrest lit.
Is that
4
the
is
one you gave me,
insane to
Smirch?
play.
I don't remember.
It must have been because I was obsessed with that one. And it's like you're in the Matrix. And
You told
can,
me,
like,
yeah. You told
Yeah.
me like this is the one you have to play, and you gave it to me.
The story's absurd. Did you know that that was supposed to be just a DLC for 3, and then it switched companies, and they were like, fuck you, we're gonna make this and take it and make it a whole new game, and then it tanked as
There
a game
still
itself.
was a DLC that was like that for 3.
Yeah. And there's a new one coming out in like 3 weeks, something like that, end of August. So anyway, make sure to check us out playing, fuck are we playing? Tiny Tina Wonderlands, probably after this or over the weekend at least. But for now, we're gonna talk about 2 movies, Gray Man, which came out on Netflix probably 2 weeks ago, and Lightyear, which is probably right around, it just came out on Disney Plus right around a
weeks
week,
ago.
maybe 2 weeks ago, something like that. So I think first we're going to drop into the Gray Man. I'll go because I enjoyed the movie quite a bit. I thought it was a lot of fun. There were some aspects of it that were, as we were talking about earlier, definitely a Netflix action movie, but I love Ryan Gosling in these types of movies. I mean, there's a billion and one like soft-spoken spy action
You loved him in
characters.
this movie?
I love him
Loved?
as that type of characters. Yeah, I mean, I just find him, his charm gets me, is what it is. There's a bunch of people that do that kind of thing. I like his more, because I've seen him in other like sappy roles and stuff. In like rom-coms too, and I like him in this. I thought he was a lot of fun. This stole the show for me. Was Ana de Armas. For me personally, I loved seeing her in action and doing stuff. It reminded me of her Bond character, but little different. Not as much spy, but it was good.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the story. It could have been a little bit better, but had the right moments. It's going to be a part of a series, which I think is kind of nice because it's the Russos are going to take it and make like a Gray Man universe. So hopefully it gets a little bit more depth to it, and they stop blowing people up by
I
sacrificing
mean, that was the
themselves.
only good thing about this movie was the action, really, and the story. The story was pretty good.
Yeah.
And I
Chris
mean,
Evans.
Chris Evans clear stand out to me. When you said clear stand out, and then he said Ana de Armas, I was like, what? I mean, I do get the connection to her Bond character. I definitely wanted more of her Bond character, who was much more entertaining and fun. In this movie, she was just a run-of-the-mill agent, and like her action was cool, but half the time that wasn't her. So I don't know. Yeah, Chris Evans. God, I just wanted more Chris Evans. He was so like unhinged, and I just wanted, more of him. Me and Tim were talking. It's like, is he dead? He's probably dead. He's probably dead. But I mean, like, yeah, these days apparently getting a shot in the chest once doesn't mean shit. So I don't know. This isn't Marvel, I guess. So, Russo brothers are good director.
It was Marcus and McFeely too. It's the same guys that wrote everything since, not everything, but most things since Winter Soldier.
I mean, it was good. Not a lot of depth. It pretty much was what it was, and that's fine. And it kind of made me realize that we haven't gotten a really like crazy action movie like this in a long time. Like, if you want to see action like this, you have to go see a fucking Fast movie, which I have washed my hands of. And
I'm all in on, so it's fine.
And like, otherwise, like, I'm sorry. I'm gonna what charisma from Ryan Gosling. He was literally he didn't move his face the entire movie. I don't. I think
Tim
he's
just
much
likes The
better in his
Notebook.
rom
Let's just
com.
be honest.
I mean, I don't know. The Notebook, honestly, at least he was acting in The Notebook. Like, I thought of like, what did I think of? I thought of what's that movie with Steve Carell, the rom com he was in.
With Ryan Gosling,
Yes.
he was good in that.
I don't know.
I've
He was
seen
good in
parts of
that.
it,
He was like a good. He was a good like and like something about these like
like Dirty
title
Crazy
roles
Love
he
or
gets.
something.
Yes, that's the one. He was great in that, and I know he has the capacity to. I just wonder if either he feels the pressure or if these directors, when he's a leading man, like have him be a little more nonchalant. Like I I heard nothing but great things about the new Blade Runner, and I literally was bored to death, like in the middle of it, and never finished it. Like
Oh, I love that movie.
The
I know
movie's
everyone.
beautifully. Well, that's a different topic, but
Yeah.
I mean, but like, it's more just like if Ryan Gosling was like just like nothing, and maybe that was like a whole thing in that movie, and I can understand that. But like
Yeah.
in this, it's just like, and I get it, he's trained to like kind of like be like calculating, but like, yeah, give me something, Like I understand the pressures of being a leading man, but like when you got Chris Evans lighting up the screen, like it's really you look even that much worse by comparison. I don't know. I think I've seen him act well, and I just wonder why he makes this choice to just
I mean, I
not
don't think
move
it's
his
so much like
face.
his choice as it is
I've
the
seen him do this
character.
more than once, though. Like this style of acting he's done. Like he's done this with that. He's done it with Blade
what was
Runner.
that
He's done
action
it
film that he was in that he was driving around a lot?
Yeah, Driver. And same thing with people love that movie, and he's just like he at least he shows some emotion randomly, like, but then he goes right back to like make no emotion, no face muscles. Like I don't know, it's strange to me. I'm starting to not like him because of it, but I know he's capable of good things. I don't know.
I mean, I think that type of stuff is good. I mean, I think that takes some ability to not react to a lot of the things that are going on around you. Because think of like what's going on like a movie set, especially when you've got, Evans hamming it up across from you on the other side of a fountain. Like, how are you not gonna try and bring something to the character?
I respect it, and I think it's a challenge. I just don't think it's fun to watch, like personally.
Sure.
Anyway,
to each their own. George, do you even have anything to say about this movie?
I don't even know why we were talking about it, honestly.
I enjoyed it.
I'm like a little resentful that I was forced to watch this because I would never have chosen to watch this film. Like I don't
you didn't like the action.
It's fine. I mean, like it's fine for a film, but it's like a solid C. Like it's a Netflix film, like action film. It's just like anything else. Anything else they fucking regurgitate out. It's not a standout by any means.
The average Netflix films are boring at some point. I was never bored.
It was all right. I was bored.
Yeah.
I was bored for like I would say like 20% of it. But
I would say,
I mean, like, yeah, so I guess Chris Evans all right. A lot of screaming and yelling. I mean, if that's what acting range is,
he actually didn't scream and yell that much. If you look at it, he had two. If
that's your emotional range, that like in order for you to like, I don't know, it just felt like that he got loud.
He was building up to those.
The other lady got loud
actually.
too. The lady from Game of Thrones and Iron Fist, she got loud, and people get loud, and it's just like, okay, well, it felt like slightly phoned in by some of these larger stars. I feel like they took a paycheck and they just filmed whatever scenes they were in. The film felt disjointed. It didn't feel like these people who were in different scenes were in the same film together until they were actually talking to each other or had dialogue. It just felt disjointed that way, right? With all these big stars on it, I wonder if this film would have been done better if it only had like one or two famous people. But they tried to throw in all these like cameos of famous people because the Russos are big names. I'm sure they can call anyone who they want on a Rolodex, and people will come in and take like an easy million or two to do like 3 or 4 days of shooting. Like that's what it felt like to me. I don't know. Maybe
I actually thought that what's her name from Daredevil was pretty good. Or no, not Daredevil. The other
Iron
one.
Fist.
Iron Fist.
I thought she was good. I mean, it wasn't much to work with.
She yelled a lot.
All right.
when she got angry. I don't know.
She wasn't really yelling. She was talking loudly.
Loudly. Okay, she talked loudly when I don't know. Like
when they called for it, when everything's going to shit, and they're not only their jobs in danger, their life's in danger. I think that's pretty justified.
Sure. I don't know. I'm not convinced of that character. That's all.
What do you want her to be like? Okay, he's coming in now. Oh, everything's going to crap. Yep, everything's fine. Nope, he's gonna kill us all.
I will say,
like it felt
like should have been called.
But do you understand what I'm
Shot.
saying? It felt disjointed. It felt like what the problem was. It felt like it had all these like shiny pieces of people that they brought in to do these roles and cameos or whatever, and it like maybe the film could have been better served if it was just only 2 people and like 2 main leading people who are like a larger name, and then like you can kind of focus on that, and maybe Chris Evans. But they try to like throw Billy Bob in there. They threw what's her name from Star Trek.
Billy Bob, great. I think he was.
Billy Bob did great too, but like they didn't need Billy Bob. They could have found anybody to play that part. Like it's not like you know what I'm saying. So you throw in like a lot of like I don't know. That's all it was, and then it felt like. I mean, I guess it could have been like and the plot was like, I mean, it's like a B- plot. Like it's very typical. Nothing you haven't seen. Kidnap person. I mean, that kind of sounds like the last Bond film.
It was good.
It sounded like replace Billy Bob Thornton with what's her name from from
Yeah, that's interesting.
And then there's a baby involved or a child of some sort. It's
Bond
just like
films,
a child that he like shouldn't be attached to, but is attached to. Like, kind of sounds really fucking familiar, you know? Like,
I feel like it's a good comparison with the Bond films. I feel like it's hard with these kinds of movies because you have to like remember to. I feel the Bond films, for me personally, got a little too convoluted, and there were multiple things that you'd miss. You're like, what is he talking about? And like you can get on a rewatch, and I appreciate that, but like you think about the audience as a whole, like there are tons of people who are just like, I don't understand what's happening, I don't want to see more of these. So I think this actually was right in the comfort zone. I was entertained. It wasn't confusing. I think it did a pretty good job. I was a little disappointed that dude in the bureau didn't get his upcomings, but apparently, as Tim pointed out, this is good. Yeah, this is there are gonna be more of these, so that I'll watch the next one. I'm a little sad. I really hope Chris Evans is miraculously alive or something.
I have like, I mean,
the best part of this movie.
I feel like I'm slightly jaded, and you're right. Maybe it's because I've seen like Bond films and stuff like that, so it's like slightly familiar, and it's hard not to compare that with that kind of bias. You know,
well,
I'm also like not a huge fan of like films. Maybe this genre in general because it feel like it's been played out a lot.
It has.
Spy films have just been played out to like so much, and it's hard to do something new that's like necessarily gonna surprise you. So that's why I'm like, not surprise you, but like, and I'm not saying there aren't good parts of it. Yeah. Like I said, there were parts where I was just like, but then
there was a few scenes.
There was some like it's good action, and I really enjoyed a lot of it, and there were some good fighting scenes. Evans had a cool knife trick that he did. That was pretty cool. Like other than that, I can appreciate that for what it is. It's like but I also like am looking at it through the lens that it's like it just seems like just another Netflix action film to me to an extent. It's the problem is they set a really high bar. All right, it's no Adam Project. That's like where the bar is.
I haven't even seen Adam Project.
I don't think
Adam Project.
Well, look, it came out on the heels of like 6 different Ryan Reynolds movies.
Yeah,
so
of
by
course.
the time it came out, I was like, I just watched every Ryan Reynolds movie ever made. I really need to see another one.
Maybe we should talk about that next week because freaking Adam Project is like the best thing that came out on Netflix this last year.
Just because it's the best thing that came out for Netflix doesn't mean that's the new bar that you have to make on Netflix. Like the Adam Project was special. Like we can't, if we go in expecting an Adam Project every time Netflix releases a movie, we're gonna get let down all the time, dude. Like all the time. That's an
interesting.
But they release movies like quite often, so there's like a large.
I think this was better than the average Netflix movie, and I also think if we had seen it in theaters, we would like it much more.
Sure, maybe. But then I also understand why this film didn't get a theatrical release.
The fight scenes were nice. I liked those. There were a few scenes that I thought were like that when he's like falling out of the airplane.
Yeah,
and that was bad. That was very bad.
It was bad CGI. That was bad. Yeah. Like what happened? How did he end up landing?
Yeah, everyone was rubber, and suddenly there's smoke, and there were a lot of scenes that were like fought behind smoke or
I
strobe lights
got some
or
There
blocked
was
by
good action.
everything.
I can agree.
that scene. I got some real Harry Potter one on a broom vibes. Like,
Yeah.
I
And
was like,
then
Jesus.
and then there was um shit, what was it? That towards the end when that one guy who was like Chris Evans's other spy who like ended up getting the drive and then was giving it to him and found out they were gonna like kill him and kill the
Yeah.
kid, and then like he's like, you can see in his face early on that he's like, oh, I'm not gonna go with these guys, like fuck them, they're gonna kill some child, that's not my style, but yet still decides to fight Ana de Armas's character
Yeah.
and then just stops and is like, never mind, here you go. I'm like, why just give her the fucking, what the hell, man? Other
Yeah.
than that, other than those couple little things, I think it's a good build. Like I think it's a decent foundation to start something on, and like, because you could see that there was, yes, he was dry. Okay, Gosling was a little dry because I think that's what the character was, and that's who you're supposed to kind of feel, and you're like, that's him. Okay, he was turned into a weapon instead of a human being, but then he grew a little. It was like this much when he like told the story of his dad, and like by the end of the movie he's like, you can see that he cares about this kid for the niece and that or whatever. And so hopefully over the next few movies, whatever they decide to do, that his character grows a little bit more and becomes more human, and a redemption arc for Dan, you know what I'm saying?
I'm just not very
We'll see.
invested, that's all.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't,
fine.
I don't really
honestly,
care.
I think George kind of like tipped the scales. I
Just
unless
not
they get
really
a really
invested.
good villain like they did for this movie, I don't know if I want to watch
Evans
it
was
again.
really good in that role. He was
Yeah.
fun
Chris
to
Evans,
watch.
I mean, he was good.
Speaking
And,
of Chris Evans,
No, and
I'm not
also,
like-
but I just we talked about like when leading men take on the role of villains, they do great things, and this is a prime example. Anyway.
I had seen the movie when we had watched it, and so that's why I thought of that when you said that
yeah.
immediately.
Nice.
Speaking of Chris Evans, he was also the star of Lightyear, which came out for Disney and had a theatrical release, and then within like 3 weeks they were like, here you go, watch it, please watch it, watch, and they put it on Disney Plus.
Buzz.
And yeah, it was, when I remember seeing the trailer being like, the fuck are they gonna do with this? And yeah, I'll have some to say. It's not my favorite thing that Pixar's ever done. I liked a lot of it, but some of the choices I think were just, if we want to talk run of the mill, it yeah, it didn't. For me, here's my sum up of it. If this is the movie that made Andy fall in love with the character Buzz Lightyear, it's not a very good movie if you look at it from that point of view. I did not fall in love with Buzz Lightyear. You know, I liked the movie. I liked Buzz already going into this, but I liked him as the toy. But like, if this is like going to be somebody's favorite movie, like I think of my favorite movies.
First of all, if you saw this movie in 1995, you would feel differently.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how I was thinking about that.
Probably, but I can't look at it in that scope because it's not a 1995 movie.
Sometimes we do like a movie night. For those of you guys who don't know, I host movie nights sometimes on Cast. So if you're in our Discord, you'll get a notification to join. And we watched this on movie night, and the first thing that I said after they did that prologue of like, this is Andy's favorite film or whatever, I was like, why is it that the like animation in this film is better than Andy's animation? Like this film looks better quality than Andy himself. Okay, like
it's fair.
And my question is like, Andy, when he's watching this, is this a live action film for him or is this an animated film?
I believe live action.
Yeah. Well, if it's a live action film, that's totally different. If this was live action to you, you probably think that it would look pretty good, like in the sense of like.
Oh no, I like. I mean,
it would be fucking Avatar for you.
like holy shit. You know
Avatar
is
a blue Avatar, not Last Airbender, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like it would be on that level. I would expect, because, you know, and as far as the story goes, I don't know. Like I thought it was a decent story, but it's
decent.
I enjoyed it. I would say actually I might have enjoyed it more than Tim.
Oh, I for sure enjoyed it more than Tim.
You both for sure enjoyed this more than me. I will say, the things I liked about it the most were the nostalgia of everything. Like the first lines you hear Buzz say are the first lines you hear Buzz say in Toy Story. I was like, that's kind of cool. I thought that
That's your
was fun.
favorite thing? Like,
Yeah,
that
I
was
thought
just
that
a
was cool.
throwaway, like, little, that wasn't, all right. Nah,
I
it's
liked a
fine.
lot of
No,
the throwaways. I liked Socks. I thought that was a fun
Socks was
little
great.
addition and like hilarious at moments. The animation and as far as like visuals that for Pixar tops everything they've done. I think
Ooh.
this is visually one of the most stunning things they've made. I loved the animation. I loved the space setting. I loved the way they did it. It looked cool as fuck. It's just the story was
Well,
again,
this
you know, if we're talking about
just,
Gray Man, I've heard this story before. Spoilers,
that's
the
not
big
fair.
reveal of
That
like
is fair. I mean,
of the time. If they hadn't dealt with time travel, I would have less of a problem with it. And if it wasn't
yeah,
Buzz,
that
spoilers, if
was,
it wasn't an old Buzz
yeah.
in
Nope.
Zurg, that's where they lost me.
I
I was
don't
like,
care for that choice at
and
all.
yeah, I
I
was
thought
like,
it was going to be Rookie, the original Rookie. That's what I thought it was going to be. And I
why?
thought that
Why
would
even anyone? Just
oh,
leave it
yeah.
as Zurg. Like leave him as his own being. He
Yeah,
had
it's
his own
hard.
story.
Well, I
and it
guess
was
the
like a
idea
whole
is
thing.
that Zurg has a twist with his character in Toy Story, so they had to make sure that this Zurg had a twist as well.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard
Mister,
to
I
make
like
it.
the callback. You didn't even pick that up. Come on.
Yeah.
No, I knew I am your father from the original. I get it. No, I know
they
it was there, but I think it's not the same, and it was a cheap out for me. It was a cheap out to bring it back to it just didn't work. Like
I agree.
the nostalgic callbacks are the you know, like
But
him
I mean, you knew
getting
that
the laser
Zurg was
being
like
built on
somebody
and,
other than like, you know, you knew there was a hidden character behind it, that it was going to be a face you recognized.
I didn't.
I didn't know that this was a person controlling a suit. I thought it was a fucking robot.
You didn't think it was like his father or somebody that like Buzz would
I didn't
know?
think it was his father when they were referencing Star Wars. No, it was a Star Wars reference in like 2007 when they made the movie. At the time, it
no,
itself
but like when you
was a
watched
reference.
Lightyear,
Now
you
you're
didn't think
referencing a
Zurg
reference
was
of a
somebody
reference.
hidden, like that you would recognize.
No,
You didn't have that single inkling foreshadow at all
Good.
when you watched that film. Were you not watching the same film that I was? I felt like it was foreshadowing the whole time to reveal who he really was.
no, I thought it was just a fucking robot.
Let the
Wow.
hate
just a robot.
flow through you,
Look,
Timbo.
did
Let
I
the
have
hate flow.
did I have a good time? Yes, I had a good time. Do I always
Did
have
you?
good times? Yeah. Do I always have a good time watching most movies? Yes, I really
I-
do. I
If
love
you
movies.
asked me right now if you enjoy this movie, I would say you did not enjoy this movie.
Yeah, for some reason
I enjoyed it. It's not going to be like the worst Pixar movie I've ever seen. It's just everyone like there was a
I've
lot
heard
of
you
people
say
who like
I enjoyed
loved
it about some really bad movies. So for you to say the exact same tone about those movies makes you think that it's not so much like a 70% for you, more like a 50%.
If I were to put it in like out of 100, yes, 65.
What? I don't see. I do think how we feel about going into a movie does affect our watching.
Sure, of course.
And
That's-
Tim
of
and I
course.
are no exception. And I do remember watching this movie and thinking to myself, the first thing I remember is just Tim's pretty quotable quote, being like, "What is this? Be a toy or be nothing."
It wasn't even that.
I mean,
It wasn't.
I think you didn't want to like this movie going into it, and sometimes you
wanted
feel
to
that
like
way.
the movie. I did.
Okay,
And like
all
again,
right, if you
for
say
me, a
so.
65, I don't hate 65. You know what I mean? There's a lot of it that I thought was formulaic and not as
That's fair.
nothing in this movie made me cry. It's the first Pixar movie that I didn't cry. I cry at fucking commercials nowadays, okay? Like
I cried
this
in
movie
this movie,
didn't
for
make me
sure.
cry at all. Like
Dude, when
for
he
even
walked
a
into
second.
the office was empty. Nah,
Nah, because she was in it for 5 minutes and like was just like a montage.
you can make that
character.
argument about Up.
Sure.
I'm
There
just
was
saying.
that one was like that was more emotional of a thing for me than this.
He saw her grow up. He saw her have kids. He saw her with his wife.
It was
like,
sad. I'm not taking anything away from
oh,
the
okay, all
moment.
right. No,
I just
I'm not.
I
Yeah,
didn't.
I'm just surprised.
I didn't cry.
I cried hardest when I thought Socks was about to eat it because they just killed the other one and he started to float away. And I said, no, do not. I was like, if they kill Socks in this movie, I'm turning it off. But they didn't. Yeah, I don't know. We talked about bars and movies. The bar for
Pixar.
the bar for Pixar is high, and this met the bar, and it didn't go over. There definitely was, it was a little standard in how this guy learns his lessons and what he needs to do. And I do agree about the Zerg twist was rather weak. I think they needed it to have stakes, and needed it to be impactful for some reason, which I don't think they needed it to, but they wanted it to be, and it was kind of, it was, instead of like being like, oh, it was more like, oh, huh, that's crazy. But that being said, I was invested. I didn't even, Tim talked about the animation. I didn't even notice the animation because I was so immersed. I was really enjoying the journey of Buzz learning to be more trusting of his compatriots and his AIs. I was all into it from front to back. I thought it was fun. I thought I thought it was heartfelt. I like the science fiction aspect. It felt like another great Pixar movie. To me, not like up there, not like the best Pixar movies are really hard to reach again. But I enjoyed this thoroughly, and it was filled with emotions, good and bad, and I liked it. I thought it was a good movie. I would watch it again.
I think
That
if I
is
saw
it.
it in theaters, I might have a different feeling because it lost me because I found myself being like, oh, what's on Facebook? Like I just was not.
Hmm.
It just it. I didn't. It's funny because you talk about his like story and like his learning his lessons, and I'm just sort of like I was like, oh yeah, I guess that's a lesson to be learned. Like it didn't feel like he was learning any lessons. It just didn't. None of this
Sure, he
was.
did.
It was all like. None of it
He
seemed
he didn't
like
trust rookies. He
a
didn't trust
Pixar.
AI, and
No, I
throughout
get
the
it, but
movie,
then by the end of it, he just sort of did. I didn't see it. To me, there weren't any big moments where it was like, "Oh,
when he
he
threw the
learned his
spear
lesson."
into the thing and saved his
I feel like
life.
Tim just wasn't paying attention in this movie.
When Socks
No,
like came when Socks came through on him with the coming up with the formula for the drive, and Socks coming through for him time and time again, and him learning to trust an AI, that was happening throughout the movie.
No, I
Like
saw it. Don't get me wrong. I
you just
remember
said,
all
there
of these
weren't.
moments, but they didn't. To me, they weren't impactful. They didn't. When for me, when a character has growth, they have to it comes off more impactful in the realization of the moment, and it just never felt like there was anything that
Because
was
he
that.
didn't want to admit it, Sam. You can't always see it. He was very reticent to admit that these things would
I
be
know.
helpful, so he wasn't showing that. But oh, okay, if you say
it
so.
just it felt forced. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. It just kind of felt like a forced perspective, like, oh, I learned my lesson, and I'm like, yeah, I guess, sure, yeah, that's the way you can learn a lesson. It just didn't have, for me, it didn't hold any impact. It didn't like sit with any weight of all this stuff. I didn't really feel the impact. And again, maybe if I saw it in theaters, I'll be singing a different tune. But I mean, I can admit that something is good, but it doesn't mean I have to like it. I don't.
Okay.
It's fine for what it is. It. Would I watch it again? Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't know, but
I liked it.
yeah,
I would say that the thing is my question is whether or not like I kind of like question what their target audience is. Like
Mm.
Toy Story
fair.
is old enough now that kids don't know really about Toy Story. My nephew doesn't really know about Toy Story. He didn't like the last one because
Sure.
it was way too scary for him.
Sure.
And that's like one of the issues with. No, well, yeah, it is. It's like there are some scary
Those fucking
stuff for
goosebump
kids.
dolls, man. Fuck.
Yeah,
Oh,
those-
that was very
the
scary.
ventriloquist
Very
dolls like freaked him the fuck out. So like,
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, like he left the theater because he couldn't take it. Like so,
Oh,
he
that's
has
sad.
like
I'm
no
sorry.
impression of Toy Story in general. So people who don't, there's kids. Most kids don't know who Buzz Lightyear is in the sense of like actually seeing him in a Toy Story movie. There's the younger generation. So Buzz doesn't have the same impact and the same callbacks that he would for a kid that you and I as adults have. So there's that. And so I wonder, like, a lot of people are going to be going into this, at least some of the younger kids. This is the first encounter they've had with Buzz in a movie, like any Buzz. So you have to think about that audience.
Almost 30 years old.
Yeah,
so
you have to think about that audience. Then you got to think about the fact that if that's the audience that they were going for, which I don't think they were going for that younger audience. I think they were going for older people, honestly, for this film. It had to be, because the idea, like that concept of time travel is incredibly difficult, I think, for you to try to explain to somebody who doesn't understand what light speed actually is. And that requires a certain level of maturity and understanding of science. I'm sorry to say. Have you ever tried to explain light speed to like a first grader? It's a little bit difficult. Manipulation. Yeah, like EMC, like if you try to explain like, you know, like light travel to people like who don't have any reference to it, it's incredibly difficult. So for you and I who've seen, for most of us nerds who've seen several time travel movies and several science fiction movies and understand the theory of relativity, like that's one thing. But for a child, that's a lot to swallow. Like the idea that the faster you go, the more time goes by and all that, and the more mass, like that stuff is, you know, requires a certain level of maturity. So that's why I'm saying if they were trying to shoot for kids audiences, they wouldn't have used that plot. Do you know what I'm saying? That plot is a very, like, it requires a level of maturity to understand, I think.
Yes
to
and
an
no.
extent. Yes and no.
Yeah,
they dumbed it down to the point that you can kind of get
better.
through it, but also like I feel like that is a very weird, like it's a very interesting mechanic they decide. I was not expecting them to repeatedly travel back and do this over and over again. I thought it was going to be one time travel jump and that was it, which I would have been, it felt like might have worked a little bit better in some sense, because and maybe I'm more familiar with that plot line, but the fact that he jumped over and over and over and over again and he was a man out of like time took me by surprise, and I actually kind of really enjoyed it. I'm more comfortable with the one jump.
That aspect of it. Yeah.
The one jump is like very typical, and I'm more comfortable, and probably would have been easier to swallow for most people and the larger audience, even kids. But the repeated jumping over and over and over again brought a different layer and a different tone to the whole entire aspect of the film that I actually really, really enjoyed, because it was different than your usual time travel movie. They very rarely jump over and over and over again and skipped this many times, which really added to the aspect of you building like that connection with his partner and with the people on the base, and the fact that they crashed there. I love the idea that they cut out a lot of the bullshit in the beginning of like how they ended up there. They probably would, you know, there probably was this idea of them like, oh, we're gonna have like a little bit of a scene of them traveling through space and then crashing. They didn't even have, they have already crashed. They've landed. They're already stranded on this planet. There's no background as to like reference as to what their previous planet was or previous destination was or where they came from and any civilization that this is the people they have. This is the civilization they had. Let's just fucking jump into it. Like, I'm all for that. Like, it leaves more to be built on for a sequel to kind of wonder what happens, and maybe Buzz in the future will ever meet, like, they'll ever get back to where it is that they came from or wherever it is they were going, or connect with the greater, you know, civilization that they came from, or are they just going to keep doing their own thing as Space Rangers? I don't know. But I actually think it was refreshing in many ways because it was different. So, yeah, I liked it. I would say, go watch it, enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the callbacks as well, especially with like all the little things that Buzz. I actually, one of the funny things is I was not expecting Buzz to be so much like the toy, like, and the fact, not even Buzz himself, but the fact that people react to Buzz the same way that like Woody reacted to him, because they're like, this guy can't be real. And it's funny that he's just like Buzz.
Are you narrating?
His personality is almost the same in every person in every universe or iteration, right? Like, he really is the toy, but like in an outer space scenario where he's like, and there's so much of the Chris Evans and the Tim Allen that is like similar, and the way people react to them when they say those cheesy lines is like identical to the way Woody reacted to them, because they're like, are you for real? Like, are you for real? Like, that's all. And also at times, I can't help it, at times it just felt like Captain America was like in outer space. So
sure,
that can't be helped because it's Chris Evans.
I
did a good job of
feel like it was Chris
capturing
Evans.
Buzz. Yeah.
There was a few moments it felt like Captain America was in outer space, but other than that, I still enjoyed it.
I like.
I think I might have enjoyed it maybe at least as much as Maybe more than
Bread.
David.
Bread, meat, bread. That's too much bread.
Yeah,
that's
that part was
hilarious.
funny too.
Sandwiches.
There was definitely a lot of good humor in the movie, and I thought that was good. So
I loved it. I
carried
think it stands up to all the other things that Pixar releases, and
Yeah, it's a good film.
this is just added to the great collection of Pixar movies.
Maybe I'll watch it again and see if it tickles differently.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna call this one, and then jump into another one, and do a Peacemaker review on the next episode. So that being said, thank you everyone for sticking with us for these reviews. I know it's strange when I'm the negative one, so bear with me. And please, we love hearing from you. We love that you guys watch. So go ahead and make sure you follow the YouTube, The Modern Nerd. Check out all of these socials here, The Modern Nerd, right here. Check out Smirch at Smirchandise. He might post maybe occasionally. And as always, our gracious host for the days is GJC327 right here on his Twitch channel live. We always appreciate that. We have been The Modern Nerd, and thank you for watching.